Good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. So today, continuing on in James. I'm sorry, not James. Peter. We got through First Peter. Now I was into the second book of Peter. Just so it's in context, the beginning is about the beginning of the letter is a greeting, partakers in divine nature and pursuing God. He's talking about making sure that you pursue God in all His ways, and that you separate yourself by doing holy things, which is like a reaffirmation of the aspects that I was talking about earlier. That, well, not me, but the Bible was talking about earlier about faith without works is dead. It's something that you need to focus on. But I came upon what is this? Second Peter, and getting into the chapter 2. About the deceptions of false teachers, the doom of false teachers, depravity of false teachers, and the tragedy of apostasy. So this is something I feel is like super relevant and pertinent to today. But it's, making sure that we read the Bible and then read the context, that we know what they were talking about, and then how this is a warning for us. But there were also false prophets among the people. This is 2 Peter chapter 2. But there were also false prophets among the people, even as there will be false teachers among you who will secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the Lord who brought them, and bring on themselves swift destruction. And many will follow their destructive ways, because of whom the way of the truth will be blasphemed. By covetousness, they will exploit with you deceptive words. For a long time, their judgment has not been idle, and their destruction does not slumber. The doom of the false teachers. For if God did not prepare the angels, for if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell, delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes. Important point here. Only 8 people were saved out of the entire world, and Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed later. Condemned them to destruction, making them an example to those afterward would live ungodly, and delivered righteous Lot, who was oppressed by filthy conduct of the wicked, for that righteous man dwelling among them tormented his righteous soul from day to day by seeing and hearing their lawless deeds. Then the Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and reserve the unjust under punishment for the day of judgment. Then it goes on to talk about the depravity of false teachers, that it's largely like their own lusts and passions and their own desires to be free of sin. But by their free of sin, they're talking about sin isn't really sin. So, and especially those who walk according to the flesh in lust and uncleanliness, and despise authority being the authority of Christ and the apostles. They are presumptuous, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignitaries, whereas angels who are greater in power and might do not bring a reviling accusation against them before the Lord. But these, like natural brute beasts made to be caught and destroyed, speak evil of the things they do not understand, and will utterly perish in their own corruptions, and will receive the wages of unrighteousness, as those who count it pleasure to carouse it in the daytime. They are spots and blemishes, carousing in their own deceptions, while they feast with you, having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, enticing unstable souls. They have heart trained in covetous practices, and are accursed children. They have forsaken the right of way and gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but he was rebuked for his iniquity. A dumb donkey speaking with a man's voice restrained the madness of the prophet. These are wells of water, clouds, carried by tempest, for whom reserve the blackness of darkness forever, and the tragedy of apostasy. For when they speak great swelling words of emptiness, they allure through their lusts of flesh, through lewdness, the ones of their activity, the ones who have actually escaped from those who live in error, while they promise them liberty, they themselves are slaves of corruption. For whom a person is overcome, by him he is brought into bondage. That's a key point here. For if they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ, they again entangle them and overcome latter, and is worse for them having the beginning. For it would have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than having known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered to them, but has escaped them according to the true proverb, a dog returns to its own vomit, and a sow, having washed, been cleaned, to her wallow in the mire. I mean, this is like, okay, so interpretively, this is the, by the way, just so you know what Bible I'm reading from, this is the Orthodox Study Bible, okay? So you understand my perspective on this stuff and why I'm reading through it and what I'm gaining from it. So Peter reaches his main concern: false teachers who are unholy and communicate heresy. They are arrogant, sensual, and greedy. And it goes on to talk about, through all of chapter 2, that basically what's these false teachers are teaching that, oh, look at the little kitty. The false teachers are teaching that sin isn't really sin and not to worry about it. What does that sound like? I don't know. That sounds a lot like modern day preachers and or other churches talking about how, they're going to bless same-sex marriages, and they're going to, have gay weddings in their church, and they're giving into their lusts and their passions and teaching something that's completely contrary to what's taught in the Bible, right? Jesus himself warns against this stuff, and they talk about in Peter is talking about, how God wipes out the entirety of don't do that. Wipes out the entirety of the world except for 8 people with Noah, and then again completely destroys Sodom and Gomorrah. It's wild to me that we would continue to listen to pastors and preachers and priests of other religions that are teaching that this type of behavior is okay. It's just completely not.